Welcome, and thank you for joining us today on another deep dive into leadership. Today, we're joined by Mario Smith. Mario is CEO and President for Waters Construction. And Mario, to kick things off, tell us what you do. What does Waters Construction do?
Well, Waters Construction is a general contractor in the state of Connecticut and to some extent in eastern New York on the border with Connecticut. And we primarily do highway and mass transit work. That would include reconstructing roads, bridges. On airports, we do runways, taxiways. We've worked on train stations, bus stations, anything that's in our parlance called heavy civil work. And we also have another division who pretty much strictly installs asphalt pavements. And that their main clients are towns, cities, state of Connecticut, sometimes in cities, again, in eastern New York. That's what we do. We have about 100 employees and have been around since 1960.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that background. Now, you've led Waters through a lot of growth during your tenure. So you've obviously been very successful, but give us some background on you. Why do you do what you do?
That's interesting. Well, I sort of fell into it. As many people do in their careers in life. You know, life takes different twists and turns.
Yeah.
But after falling into the business, it turned out that I had some natural talent at doing it. And I think primarily because it turns out I like building things. And I sort of have a knack for logistics. And so in construction, you get to build things, which is fun. It's there's a tangible product that
Yeah.
at the end of the day, myself and frankly, everybody in our organization can be proud of.
Well,
It turns out
certainly.
we ran a survey within our company to find out why they did what they did.
Okay.
And I would say about 95% of the people, from laborers to foremen to project engineers to project managers, it was universally because they liked to build things. And I'm in the same category.
Right. I like that. It kind of reminds me of being a little kid playing with Tonka toys and all those things we used to build in
Yes.
the backyard.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
talk about you and your employees getting to share in all that. I'd suggest because of all the paving you do, we all get to share in all of that.
Yeah, I think there's also a sense of satisfaction that what we do matters to the community. As a matter of fact,
Okay.
you know, our our vision is that we connect communities, and that really resonated with all the team members. So not only do we get to physically see what we do, but then we get to experience the public using the infrastructure that we build.
Very cool. And I like that connecting communities kind of phrase that you put together there. At another level, if you look at yourself as a leader, what are your goals as a leader?
Well, you know, I've been doing this work now for several decades. So my goals have changed throughout time, both because of my where I was personally and where the company was today, right? My goal as a leader is to successfully shepherd a leadership and management transition within our company. I'm 62 years old and am planning to exit in the next 3 to 5 years. And so I view that my primary goal is to make sure that this works well for the whole team and that the organization will be able to, you know, survive my departure. That's my primary goal.
As you've had a chance to observe other leaders kind of throughout your career, what would you say are the top characteristics of a good leader?
Oh, see, I think I'm very biased.
Okay.
So putting that aside for a second, what I have noticed is that uh, there are all sorts of different styles in different cultures within different companies, right? Some of which are almost I am antithetically opposed to, but that's just because of, again, my own bias, right? I think I subscribe to sort of the model of a good leader being able to put their own needs and ego somewhat aside and work for the benefit of the entire organization. But that's not necessary. It also depends on how you measure success, right? That's not
Yeah. Okay.
necessarily how it's done. There are many organizations, certain construction companies that have been successful doing it in different ways. So it's hard to say what a good leader is. I think in general, I find that those people who are sort of true to themselves tend to be more successful versus those who try and take on a persona of someone who they're not, right, as a leader.
No, well said. Well said. I think that to thy own self be true has been around for a few hundred years,
Exactly.
but well said.
Absolutely.
Now, Mario, we've gotten to know each other over the past few years through Vistage. But share with us, if you would, what have you found some of the benefits of being involved in a Vistage peer advisory group?
Yeah, that's actually a fairly easy question for me to answer. The reason being is that I started leading this organization at a pretty young age. I became
Mhm.
president of the company at 29. And
And that was a couple of years ago?
yeah, well, I earlier said I was 62, so you can do the math. I realized probably, well, I've sort of known it for quite a while, but I really realized about 5 years ago how insulated I was and how, okay, let me back up a little bit. I did not have any formal training in what I do. Nor did I have any formal training in running a business, nor did I work for any other organization except for Waters Construction. So I had a very, very limited background. I could only essentially rely on my own personal experience throughout the years. And I realized that that was very limiting. And so what Vistage has done for me is give me an insight into how other leaders and how other organizations work. And that has been extremely helpful, particularly when figuring out what the next group of leaders is going to be like at Waters, realizing
Oh, okay.
that they should not be a carbon copy of me, right?
Hmm.
So Vistage really helped broaden my perspective on how businesses are run in the United States, particularly in the sort of the small to medium size category, which seems to me is what Vistage specializes in.
Mario, thank you, because you point out again that you said you kind of learned it on the job, so to speak. But when I talk to other folks, nobody references that they took a class in CO 101 in college. Nobody says I got the CEO handbook that told me exactly what to do. We all kind of learned it on the job. So that's one of the powers of Vistage is that you get that shared best practice with a wide range of top performing CEOs.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. I think some people have had the benefit to maybe work in larger organizations that had
Hmm.
more formal training, right? more formal management training. And so for me, it wasn't just about what a president or CEO should do, right? But also what a good best management practice is
Mhm.
for managers overall. One of the things that I've recently introduced to the company, and in a big part, Vistage had a big role to play in, and I wouldn't say
Okay.
the only role, but a big
Yeah.
I realized that we needed a better operating system within the company, and so we've embarked on now having a formal enterprise operating system, which I always knew sort of had to be done, but given that there were a couple of Vistage members who had already been through that journey, I think it was easier for me to implement it. And also through your trusted advisor groups, I eventually wound up hiring somebody from that group to be our advisor. And so, that's another impactful way in which Vistage is making a difference in our organization.
Okay. Mario, thank you for sharing that. Um, Something you may have given some thought to, but help us out here in terms of understanding when it's all said and done, when the dust is settled, what do you want to be remembered for? What do you want your legacy to be?
I laugh because I did notice that question, and I had that discussion with my wife over the weekend about that question. And the answer for me, at least personally, right, is that unless you are Beethoven, Michelangelo, or
Okay.
Abe Lincoln, right,
They're
nobody's
not
going to
scheduled for a
remember.
while yet on this podcast, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah, nobody's going to remember me in a very short period of time. You know, even within my own family, I'm sure memories will fade within a couple of generations. And so I really am not, I have no vision of myself on how I want to be remembered. It's just not something that I ever think about.
Okay. Well, I would point
I'm
out,
sure that's usually not not the kind of answer that one gets with that question, but I really believe that.
yeah, but I also think that one, it's very pragmatic as you are. You're both a unique combination of being a visionary and somebody who's very pragmatic, and I've kind of learned from working with you on that. But I would point out that uh, your insights, your contributions will live on at the very least in our Vistage peer advisory group with the members who've gained value from listening to your experiences and the advice that you've given.
Oh, I truly believe that every human being winds up affecting every other human being, right?
Okay.
I have no idea as to how, something I might have said might be picked up by somebody else, right? So it's not, I really do believe that we all contribute to what makes our society run and what makes the world run. I just don't think too much. The other thing is also, I have no idea what my personal contribution is because everybody hears things differently, right? And so I pick up nuggets of information from people in my life, right? And they probably have no idea how they wound up affecting me, one way or the other. But I really do believe that a peer group in general can affect people in both conscious and subconscious ways.
Yep. And I'm going to suggest that Mario Smith has planted a lot of seeds of wisdom with the different
Oh,
members of the group that he's gone through. So thank
well,
you for your help
you're
there.
you're buttering me up, Mike.
Well, Mario, thank you again for joining us today and sharing your insights on leadership.
Well, thank you, Mike. Thanks for inviting me.
And to our viewers, thank you for joining us today. My name is Mike Tetro. I'm an executive coach, and I lead a Vistage peer advisory group of high-performing CEOs. If you'd like to learn more about Waters Construction or about Vistage, please reach out. In the meantime, I look forward to seeing you on our next deep dive into leadership. Bye for now.
Bye, Mike.